Ready? Let's see. If you watched the two videos that I did over the weekend, you may have gotten an impression, let's say, that I was in a shitty mood. Um, there's some things that maybe happened in the past that put me in a shitty mood. And if this is a religious channel, people probably wonder why why I've been talking about my family so much in the last month or so. But I swear to you, this is all interrelated. There's nothing about what happened to me that you won't find justification for in the Bible. So I am talking about my life. I will be talking about my mother today. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I hate my mother, and I think she's an evil person. But I was supposed to do after the Friday and Saturday video. I did say that I would make a video for Sunday on Mother's Day, saying something nice about my mother. But I woke up that morning in a pool of blood. So I didn't make a video on Sunday. I did what I normally do on Sundays. Sundays I wake up and I watch, I get a cup of coffee and I watch Tia Weston. Tia Weston is a girl that makes videos about house renovations that she does with her father. And it's just a really great, pure, you know, if you've watched any of my videos, that there's a strain in the relationship between me and my parents. But the Tia Weston videos are a very good representation of what it actually looks like to have a positive father-daughter relationship. She updates every Sunday. I think they were just putting siding on her house last weekend, so I just watched that. I like to take it easy on the first day of my cycle. And right now it's almost midnight, so I'm finally getting to the Mother's Day message for my mother, which is difficult for me. But because I lack admiration for her. But I'm going to try to, I guess do a little bit of her origin story. Because she wasn't always evil. And let's just say she was born perfect. I know we're not supposed to say that as Christians, but I'm not a Christian, first of all. You can tell, you can make a judgment on whether or not something in the Bible is true or not when God is saying something stupid or untrue. And one of the things that the Bible says, Old and New Testament, is that we're all born evil. All of us little tiny 6.5-pound babies are, they're evil. They're born evil. And if you want to know why they're born evil, have a look at Job. It's Job 25:4. Which basically what 25:4 says, I don't know, I don't have the quote memorized or anything like that. But it says that, because you come from the filthy, dirty, evil womb of a woman, that means you come from evil, because that's where evil is. Evil is in women. You come from women, so therefore you're born evil. That is one of the most stupid things in the Bible, and I haven't mentioned that before. I have mentioned that the Virgin Mary story is probably responsible for at least 1 billion rapes or grapes of underage people. And it also led to an even younger age of, what's her name from the book of Quran. So it was not a well thought out lie, but it did provide harm to billions of children. I think we've had, since 5,280 years ago, which is when the Bible, or the Torah, the Old Testament started, I think we've had about 160 billion people live and die. I'm not sure about that number. You can fact check me if you want. But when the Bible says false things like God impregnated a virgin, it does inspire people to go after virgins in a schmexual way. But child abuse, if you want to go to child abuse, think of how many little tiny newborn babies have been beaten to death. You could lay the responsibility of that on the Bible also, because we're all sinful the moment we're born. These people are obviously not mentally ill, but when you start to refer to children as sinful from the jump, it's just not healthy. But anyway, so my mother was born perfect. She was born on the cusp of a couple of different things. I do like to talk about astrology. I'll just be very, very quick. She's on the cusp of, she's a Capricorn on the cusp of Aquarius. I have a friend, Janet. Her birthday is the 21st of January. She's an Aquarius on the Capricorn cusp. I've been friends with her since 2007, 2006 maybe. I've known her for 20 years, about, and we're close. We're as close as I can be to somebody. A lot of my friends are from a distance. I have a lot of friends that are at a distance. Not necessarily people that live here in Flagstaff, but Mom's on that cusp. She's also on the cusp of a 20-year Democrat cycle. She was born the day before the inauguration of Dwight D. Eisenhower. So she's right on the cusp between left and the right. So that's sort of interesting. She's the third, which is probably problematic. Probably the way that my parents were disappointed in me when they found my genitals, probably her father, maybe not her mother, but probably her father was disappointed in her genitals just like they were about mine. So Mom might have carried a little bit of that because her dad was grossly outnumbered by women. We've talked before about male by his sperm. Poor Grandpa Mel, he didn't have any male sperm. He had 2 girls already, and then he had my mom, and he tried one more time to have a boy. Ended up with Joyce. So, and then ultimately these girls ganged up on him, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The older sister Diane is one of the most naturally selfish, entitled, whiny, just self-absorbed people. She's This is the example that mom has as far as growing up. She's got this horrible older sister that's, always whining and bitching about not getting her way. That's what she's doing probably from birth. And you have Elaine next. Elaine is a Libra. My sister has that Libra rising. She had a tendency to be a people pleaser. In a house full of women, there's a lot of cattiness. I don't know how many of you, like Joe Rogan has spoken about living in a house of women, and I think that kid from Stand By Me, Jerry somebody, he was in the news recently. I can't remember his last name. Jerry. Anyway, he has a wife and 2 daughters. It's difficult to have a family where you're outnumbered by women. It kind of does, it either feminizes you, or, if you try to, Tom Papa is also another, male father with, no sons. I think that it's a challenge to retain your masculinity when you're outnumbered by females. And this was the case with my Grandpa Mel. But my mom was very sweet and connected to her father, and loved her father and respected her father and hung out with her father. She was the tomboy, while the other 2 girls were maybe catfighting and, kind of concerned with more girly stuff. She would go out into the woods with her father and, I don't know, at least go for walks and probably take care of whatever cows or maybe stack wood. I mean, my mom would be the type of kid that would prefer to go out with her dad in the woods than to be in the house with her mom and sisters. And so it was nice for her to have that type of relationship with him, because the older she got, my grandmother was very overbearing. She had a very, let's say she had a strong personality. One might say a bitch, but I'll say respectfully that she had a strong personality. During the 50s, about 70% of American homes had toilets. Well, okay, 75% in America, 70%, a little bit less in England. We're still Western civilization, but it was still post-war America and England, respectively. And not everybody had indoor toilets. And this was sort of a big deal. There was the big toilet war of 1963. People from the county extension's office would come and visit all the families, the farmers. What they were trying to do is sell indoor plumbing to these housewives. And my grandfather did not like people coming over and telling him that he needed a toilet. And he had an interest in keeping his 4 daughters maybe a little bit socially isolated. Not having a toilet might have been sort of a stigmatized thing. And Diane, the crazy redheaded bitchy person in the house would have, thrown a fit because she's getting to be dating age. There was a thing like people would talk about women not wanting to marry into, homes that, if you had a family farm or a family house or things like that, a woman wouldn't want to marry a man that didn't have a toilet. But my grandfather would argue that this doesn't matter to women. You go ahead and go marry a guy that has a toilet. So it's a big deal. And people don't, it's the 50s. You think not having a toilet is this big, huge thing. I can't believe that your grandfather didn't provide a toilet. It's 30% of Americans at that time. And especially on farms, it would have it would have been a big transition and a large expense to do all this. But the government and people that were worried about social welfare and cleanliness. Also, like this is another women's rights thing where it creates more work for women to do. So women are having to haul the water. Women are having to wash the laundry and the sheets and things like that. If someone's sick, the women are tending to take care of that stuff, so it becomes a woman's rights issue. So there's a standoff between Grandpa, who my mother at the time respected. It should be said also that my grandfather was very traditional and religious. He loves God. He kind of saw the way that society was going, and he didn't want his daughters to be, to go wayward and date too many boys and have too many people over. He really wanted to isolate and protect his daughters from the social breakdown, which actually was happening towards the end of the 50s. Let's see, my mom would have been like 5, 7. But Diane would have been loud and squawking and, 13, 14. And between grandmother and Grandpa, there was a war, and there was Grandma had a great idea of let's just commit him. We'll commit him for his religious beliefs and his prayers all the time, and his not wanting to modernize and kind of go with the rest of society on this toilet thing. We're just going to put him in the asylum. It's called Western, and it's in Washington. So that was Grandma's brilliant strategy, and it was a good strategy because it was the ultimate takeover of the patriarchy. It made it made the family into a matriarchy in one day. In one day, and in that one day, he goes to Western, and they fill him so full of electroshock therapy that he never recovered from it. And by the time he got back, Mom's got Grandma, Opal. She's got a hold of the purse strings. She's got all the control of, she's got all the control of the house and the money, and unquestioning authority, because the authorities are already he's already got a record of being insane. When I knew him, he had a way of laughing. Let me see if I can do it. There would be a conversation, and everybody would be, he would know it was time to laugh, but he didn't have a genuine laugh. It was like it was a little bit like it was sort of like the Count on Sesame Street. Kind of very staccato, no expression to it though, very flat affect, and that's because of all that electroshock shit that Opal lined up for him, and that was sort of his life after that. I don't know how long he was in there, a couple of years. Grandma, it seems like something that they brag about, that, Grandma plumbed the house by herself and everything like that. But, there's apparently no pride in that, because Diane couldn't wait to get rid of the house once she got a hold of it. But we'll get to how she did that later on an Elaine episode. These are really greedy bitches. Diane became one of the first, liberal women to marry a very, very, like this dark, like a dark black African guy, strictly to horrify her father. Look, I don't have any trouble with an interracial marriage. Loving versus Virginia. I think that happened in the 50s also. If I'm not mistaken, that was a 1950s case. It might have been early 60s before it went to the Supreme Court, but this was sort of a newer, the interracial thing was sort of a newer thing. But Diane didn't do it because she loved the guy. Diane did it to horrify her father and make sure that he knew that that she couldn't be controlled. Of course, it didn't last very long. Maybe 6 months or so. Not very long at all, because of course he wouldn't have been able to provide to the level of perfection that she needs. So the marriage didn't last. It was strictly to horrify her father. So good job on Aunt Diane doing that to her dad. Elaine, she married a couple of guys. They both were trying to get money from her estate. And her life, she was basically married to Jesus. And she was also called insane and shunned from the family for the insanity of, loving Jesus and loving the Bible and being a Christian. I'm the only person in the family that is going off the deep end about religion. I'm atheist. Well, I'm not atheist. I just don't believe in the Abrahamic God. And that's not the reason why I'm shunned. I'm shunned for lots of reasons, and we'll get into that. But Mom had a good. She was only 11 when her father got put into the asylum, and that kind of made her. It kind of made her not respect her father anymore, which was sort of a shame. And also, she doesn't want much to do with religion. She did take us to Sunday school, but to my estimation, the only reason that they did that was so that they can go grocery shopping without, 4 kids asking them for groceries that they couldn't afford. So they'd drop us off at Sunday school. They didn't attend church. They didn't pray before meals or anything like that. I would classify my parents as atheists. Joyce, and when Mom got married, she ended up just going away, leaving the family, and so Grandpa's kind of deserted and left with this overbearing wife that, of course he's scared that he's going to get committed at any given moment's notice. So, I can see why Mom became evil. When you look at her background, she didn't have good, solid examples of how to be kind, how to be a good person, how to be a good mother and wife. I don't think that Opal was a good example. I know that everybody talks about her like she's a hero, but I think what she did to her husband was evil. And this is another reason why when you do, like, if you watch some videos about religious deconstruction and things like that, you'll see that all the women, I can watch male religious deconstruction videos, but I can't watch female deconstruction videos because they're feminists. You can't let the pendulum swing from the misogynist Christianity to the, female chauvinist feminism. There has to be something in the middle that just acknowledges a divine feminine and a divine masculine that are working together. And that's what I'm trying to attempt here with my Bible rewrite and things like that. But I'm working on that. This is probably the nicest chapter that you'll hear from me, talking about trying to be understanding about my mother. And that's just a special gift to my mother for Mother's Day. So, 27, that's longer than I thought it would be. That's half an hour. So that's for you, Mother. I'll make something on Wednesday. I'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.